Yo, fellas, what's going on? Hey, it's Steve. It's Saturday morning. I'm just trying to get some stuff off of my list, so I'm going to run through that Zoom thing really quick for you. And I guess number one is I'm an old school idiot, and I don't know how to use BandLab. So don't get frustrated. You're going to hook this stuff up. You're going to play with microphones. You're going to turn stuff off and on your computer. We don't do this stuff normally, so don't get frustrated. Rule number one. If you get too frustrated, walk away, because music is fun. So that would be my coaching advice. As I run through here, write down any questions you got, because we can talk about these on our Zoom meeting, or you can send me an email if you get frustrated. I'm not going to get deep in the weeds. I really just want to get you up and running. So I'll start out with the handy dandy little interface that we got here. This is mine. It's Focusrite Scarlett. It's pretty darn simple. Microphone goes here. Guitar goes right here. These are the gains for both of those. You can only record one at a time, although you can record two at a time, and I'll kind of get to that. But no, I think you can only record one at a time, because you have this little switch here that says instrument or guitar or microphone. This is going to be the volume for my headphones set right here. And then we have this little button here, which is the power button that turns it on when you click it on and off. So this comes with a handy dandy little cord that goes right in the back of the unit right here. Handy dandy little cord that goes right in the back of the unit right here. And then on the other end of it, it's going to be my USB, and that goes right into my computer. When you plug this in and you have everything hooked up to it, turn off your computer, plug it in, and then when your computer powers up, your computer will actually sense it and detect it, and it'll say, do you want to go from your machine to your Scarlett Solo or to your Behringer or whatever unit you have. Typically, it's going to find this thing. And if you plug this in while your computer's logged on, and then you go and try and do stuff with it, and you don't find the settings and the inputs and convert from your computer settings to these settings, then you get all kinds of wonky stuff, and you can't control your volume, and you'll get all kinds of looping and feedback from your computer. So that's one of the things we want to avoid, and one of the things that we've been doing on some of the ones we've tried already is we're recording, and speakers from our computer are playing, and then they're recording into the microphone from the computer, and then we're getting some weird bad slap back in our sound. So we want to make sure that this is hooked up and adjusted and working properly, so that we get really, really good sound. The other thing you need is a really nice set of headphones. If you're the guitarists, you probably don't need this so much, but I highly recommend it, because it gives you really good sound, and you can hear the drums and anything else that you're playing against. This is a Behringer, and it's got an adapted headphone set, but it goes right in there, adjusts the volume. I have some nice noise canceling ones so that it doesn't bleed out and come up over my microphones, because I sing into a microphone that does some really high quality pickup stuff. And it hears my dog upstairs walking around. So I put the headphones on so that the microphone doesn't pick up the speakers and the sound, because that can wreck our track and do some weird things. So let me see if I can share my screen here and get us rolling a little bit in BandLab, and maybe I can be somewhat helpful. And maybe not, maybe just I'm an idiot on the screen. So hopefully you can see all this. This is a song that I've been working on. And really, we'll just kind of run through some of the simple stuff in BandLab. You get your bar up here. All this does take you to the beginning of the song. It's just like the old tape decks. You hit rewind, and it goes all the way back to the beginning. This does it much faster. This takes you all the way to the end of the recorded material, so you can get there whenever you want. This is the play button. This is the record button, and this is going to give you minutes and seconds. It'll also take you to measures and bars and beats, etc. So that's kind of the simplistic stuff there. Things that we're going to want to know for recording are the metronome, which you can click on this, and this will give you a click in. This gives you a 1 bar or a 2 bar click in before you start recording. It drives me absolutely freaking crazy. But one of the important things we want to remember, first and foremost when we're recording, is to get the metronome set to the time of the music, so that when we're playing along with everything, we're playing in time and with a beat. One of the other things we've been seeing is that when we're playing, we're not getting the beats proper and correct. So then when Mike goes to track the drums, he can't sync the drums up, because they're not really playing in time. So what you want to do is you want to get over here, and you want to hit settings, and you want to hit enable metronome or metronome settings. So what you'll see on this song here is it's set for 120 beats per minute. And if I go into settings and I enable the metronome and I start playing it, you'll hear it click. You can hear that metronome is clicking and it's not clicking at the right beats per minute. Well, I know that I recorded this song at a certain number of beats per minute, so I can come into metronome settings here and change it, or I can even just go right here and click on it and change it. Geez, I look like a master of my domain, don't I? So I can click on it right here and I can go to 175 and say, maybe that's better. Now, when I do that, I'm gonna hit start play and it's gonna say, hey, do you want to stretch that song all the way out to 175 beats per minute? No, I just want to hear the metronome. But now if you hear it, it's clicking way more in time. And then when you go to play along with it and you go to play along with the song, you're going to be in time. And you can actually play that click track in your headphones so that you can play along with it. So everything's in time. And that's part of the problem that we've been having, is making sure that everything's in time. It makes it easier to play to, especially for Mike. I know he's probably sitting there going, oh, how do I know to slow down and speed up when some of this stuff is coming to me? So that's a big deal. Here's the other thing that Mike and I have been talking about. Up on settings, you're going to get this latency test thing, which is really, really important. And what this does, it sends our signal out to the cloud, brings it back to our machine, and it tells the machine how long it takes for it to go out and come back, so that when we're recording, it records in time with what we have kind of sitting up here. So to do the latency test, I use it with my speakers enabled on my computer and the microphone enabled on my computer. And what it does is it makes a series of clicks and it goes into the microphone of the computer and it sends it out and back, and it adjusts what the latency is in your response so that when we're doing it, it works out well. So you hit the button, it'll say, do you want to start this test? Yep, you hit the test. Uh-oh. It says your latency is 65 ms. This correction will be applied to the next time you press record for your current session. So what this does is it's timing up my current session, what my current latency is, where I'm sitting right now, to the song that's actually sitting on the cloud. So now anything I record and anything I do from right here, now that the latency has been set, is going to be in time with the rest of the song. If we don't do this at the beginning before we start recording, then we're going to record and things are going to be a beat off or a couple of beats off. Ha, I made a joke there. Did you get it? It's going to be off a little bit, and then you're going to struggle with it, and you're going to wonder why your sound isn't syncing and it doesn't sound good, and then you're going to have to do editing and play all kinds of games with it. It's easier just to get your latency set before you even start. Next thing, if you got a track in here and your track isn't set up for you, Mike has been pretty good about setting up tracks. If you want to add a track, you literally just come right over here to add a track, and he goes, what kind of track do you want to add? Instruments, you can do what they have, all kinds of MIDI instruments, keyboards, all kinds of things. You can deep dive on this. Drum machines, we've got, you know, outstanding drummers typically working with us that we're grateful for. Mike, that was a little bit of a tip there. Voice mic, which you're going to do a lot of. This is going to be, I put my drums through here and I put my voice through here as well. Guitar has all kinds of cool settings. Bass has some different settings, but it's got all kinds of things that you can play with, added sounds and EQing and all kinds of stuff that you can do before you record. I'm not going to get deep in the weeds on that because I really just want to get you up and running. So I'm going to hit voice mic here, and it's going to show down here at the bottom, it's going to add it in. I hate the fact when I have so many tracks that it ends up at the bottom. So what you can do is you can just grab it and you can move it all the way up to the top. Come on, move. Uh-oh, I just dropped it somewhere. Now that's going to make me look really bad. So it's here, and if you play with it a little bit, it'll move all the way to the top for you. So now I've got it all the way up at the top here, or close to the top here. So it's sitting here. You see this little green bar here, that means it's prepared for recording. So when I hit the record button, it's only going to record here. It's not going to record there. Really important to make sure that you're clicked on this track, because if you click on another one and you think you're recording here, you may very well record over your very good existing stuff. And then you go, oh man, that's a problem. I just recorded over Mike's outstanding drums or Jim's outstanding lead, and Jim is going to be freaking pissed. So the secret to that is we've got this beautiful back out button, which reverts everything for us. We hit this, or we've got this forward button that works just like it does on basically any other computer. So then when you got your voice mic set up, you're going to want to hit play, or you want to hit record. And typically what we got to do is we got to set the settings. So on this handy dandy little thing here, these little gain buttons for me are what help me get my settings done. And what you want to do is you want to make sure in your sine waves here that you're not getting saturated. When these sine waves start hitting the edge of this signal, you start getting saturated and you start getting some really, really bad sound. So you don't want to be overpowering and overwhelming in your volume to where when you send it out, it has this really, really bad sound. So typically what I'll do is I'll just hit the record button and I'll just go, hey, what's going on? What's up? Let's hear it. Let's see what's going on. And then I'll look back at this sine wave that I just recorded. And you'll see, for me, that's a really nice sound wave that doesn't come all the way up to the outer reaches. And I'm going to like the way that that sounds. So that's a good recording. If I get it really too loud, it gets too saturated. And sometimes what I've been seeing and what we've been doing is sending out sine waves that are too small. And when they're too small, when you go to the volume here, no matter what you do, it's impossible to get the volume up high enough to create a really, really good mix so that we can hear what you're doing. So getting your sine wave set is a really, really big deal. So once you get your interface done, set your beats per minute so that you know that you're timed in with the song. Go to your settings and hit your latency test and make sure your latency test is working. And then you want to adjust your volume and your gain so that you don't get overly saturated here and you have all kinds of problems when you're recording. That really should get you started pretty well, because it really is just as simple as clicking the record button and it starts to play. Other stuff to get you started that really is going to be helpful for you is you have these little buttons here that are M buttons. They're mute buttons. So if you got something going on in the headphones when you're recording that you don't really want to hear because it's extracurricular noise and it doesn't help you focus on your line, then you can just click and mute out all of these. So you click and hit mute. I'll click on these for you. You know, here's my guitar to be deleted. Say I just want to hear the guitar. I can click out all of this other stuff. And then if I go back to the beginning of the song and I hit play, all I hear is guitar. And then I can add in these other things. Vocal, well, the vocal isn't starting yet, but you hear the vocal, it's not starting. But when I hit the button, it comes in or it comes out. So you can take in and out all of those different tracks so that you can hear what you want to hear when you're recording, and then you simply unmute them again so that when you play the song, then you hear them all. So for me, that really helps me to focus. You know, if I just get a couple instruments in there, and sorry, Jim and Tom, I take lead guitar out of there a bunch of the time just because there's so many noises and distractions. I really just want to hear drums and rhythm guitar and hear the frame of the song, and then all the other stuff can add back in, which is pretty darn cool. So that gets us the song done. And then when you're done with that, we come up here to save. All we do is hit save on the song. Make sure you save your work, and it's going to ask if you want to save it before you leave. But make sure you save your song, because that's what sends it out to the rest of us and notifies that. If you hit save a million times, it'll send out a million notices to everybody else if they have their computer set up to send them notices when other people are working in BandLab. So you know, save as often as you want. We certainly want to make sure that you get your work done. This publish button is for public sharing and for working with the general public out there and doing stuff. The volume button here just simply gets the volume up on what you're doing, and it'll show you saturation levels as well. Let's see, what else did I want to show you? There's a bunch of other stuff in here that we're certainly going to look at, but if you get in on voice mic, you can get in here and you can get into the presets and you can change the sound of your vocal. You can change the sound of your guitar. There's all kinds of preset stuff. So on your track, you can enable multi-track recording. So if you want to record guitar and vocal at the same time, you can do that. I think it only does 2 tracks at the same time. These just move your vocal up and down in your order here. You can import from disk. So if we record a whole song and then I want to record extra tracks on that song, I can import that song back in. It won't separate out the tracks. It'll play it on one track, but then you can actually add tracks to that song, which is kind of cool. Export track as WAV file. So you can export individual tracks and share it between different songs. If you want to duplicate the track, which is kind of a cool feature, deleting the track, I've done a lot of that. Duplicate the track is kind of a cool feature. If you look here at my vocals, you have Steve vocals and Steve vocals 2. And what I did is I duplicated that track. So it's the exact same recording, but what I did is I put one effect on one vocal and a different effect on the other vocal. And then I split them out into stereo. So one vocal appears just slightly in the left and one vocal appears just slightly in the right. And then also what I did is when I edited them, and I'm not going to get into editing here, is I actually clipped this part of this track off of this track. I duplicated it, I clipped it, and I separated it. And then I just literally grabbed it and moved it and slid it off so that it's actually the same vocal, but when you hear it, I'm actually echoing myself. So I didn't re-record that and do the echo or the backup vocal. I literally just clipped it right out of this song, dropped it down here, and moved it over and put a different effect on it. So there's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do with clipping and editing. And maybe we'll just start with this one, and I'll get you back to editing and all of that other stuff. Editing really is very, very simple in this thing. And maybe I guess I'll just show it to you as long as we're sitting here. As long as you got a couple minutes and we're just hanging out. So I'll record on this voice mic here. Dang it. That's me being a moron. The beautiful part is you can click right on it and you can just go, oh, I hate that. And you can delete it. Anything you click on, you can just hit the delete button and it makes it go away. The back button, again, will be your savior. So we get here back to the voice mic, and I had this track here. We recorded this one earlier, which was a little bit of a saturation. So if I just get this little playhead here, this is just like the playhead on your track recorder. You can move it anywhere. This is what moves all the way back to the beginning. So this is like the playhead on a tracking recorder that used to do the tape. You put it wherever you want to do a split, and then you just come up to edit. Oops, I got to be on it. And then you come up to edit, slice it playhead, and it'll actually clip this track right here. Or you can come up here. If I'm clicked on it, you can come right up here and it'll slice at the playhead as well. So if I click slice at the playhead, it actually divides it into two separate recordings. And then I can grab one, I can move it anywhere. And not only can I move it separated down here, and then when I go to play it, it plays. And then the stop happens. And then the stop happens in the middle. I can also grab it and I can move it between tracks and I can do all kinds of stuff. So the editing stuff is really, really neat. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So that's just a jump start into editing, but you can change all kinds of stuff on it. So, so that's it. Make sure that your metronome is set, and in settings, you can turn on the metronome and it plays for the entire song. This one here is just going to give you click-ins, but make sure your metronome is enabled and set for the entire song. Make sure you get into settings and you do your latency test. Really, really important. We'd hate for you to do work and then be frustrated trying to get it to sync up and to time up. And then the other thing is making sure that your saturation levels are where they're supposed to be. And I guess in closing, I can get to editor, which is down here. No, not editor. You know what? We'll save that for another time because I want to make sure that you guys really get on board with just this video. Again, write down all the questions because we can talk about it after this is done playing. I tried to keep it as brief as I could. But if you get down here into source, it tells you what source is coming in. You can use the tuner to get things in tune. This tells you what your input default is. This is my Pro Tools interface. And it just kind of gives you some some insight into your source. And I know that there's some settings for getting this level set so that you're not saturating, which again can be a frustration. So don't be frustrated. Take your time, learn it. We're doing good stuff. It's really great. I'm excited about it. I'm feeling creative again. I'm writing lyrics again. And if we can really get this going and everybody can be kind of committed to it consistently, I'm super, super excited. And the more we learn it and the more we get to play with some of these cool tools, the bigger production kind of stuff that we can do. So I think it's really awesome. And I'm grateful you guys are taking some time to do it. So you ever got any questions, send me a note, send me a text, send me an email. You're awesome. Hopefully that was helpful. Love you guys. Take it easy. Talk to you soon.